pagan stuff, and she didn't ask any questions about it.
I missed that. Which was what? Keeping the fire going?
No, they put out the fire the night before Bealtaine, May Day.
Yes,
Do you remember that? Did they do that down at... Pardon?
They take a slot to the neighbours.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, they would do that. Different areas did something. Yeah, they kind of lit it because it was a kickback from the fire being carried from the central point, which again has so many reverberations in little bits that we know, like the Olympic flame, same sort of thing. You know, the athletes, the runners carried the flame from hillside to hillside and so on. And they were very interconnected. If you look at Ireland, you'll see how well interconnected they were. And the rots, the dunes, the little ring forts, all of them saw each other. There was no ring fort that wasn't connected to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So if you think we invented the internet, we didn't. They had already had their own internet, in that everything was connected to it. So very quickly they could transfer news and stories and so on. They were very interconnected, and you can see that. Well, particularly in the west of Ireland, because it's not as well. It's because there's more hills and mountains down there than there is in the east, although there's still some in the east. But you can see from hilltops how important hilltops were and how much they were connected to the next hilltop and so on. So the actual dispersal of the fire out from Tara was very symbolic, but it also was a controlling thing, in that. And there was very severe penalties if you lit your fire before you got it from the king. I suspect that the large sub-kings, like Crohan and so on, they would do it. They would probably get the signal that it was okay to do it, and then they would disperse it around. I'm not sure how. I don't think that they had to wait for runners all the way from Tara. But anyway. There's a lot of things that you can infer from that. First of all, that they were very interconnected. And that's something that is not terribly well understood, that they think that all these little... And they spoke the same language, and they had the same customs and so on and so on. And of course, that's why Patrick, understanding the customs, inserted himself right into that. And of course, caused quite a big story the following day in the local press. When he everybody in the country would know about it. It was very clever. Any PR guy would say that was brilliant. You don't sort of get up in the middle of nowhere at no time. You do it right at the moment, timing, space, and so on. So the fact that he had the skills to introduce himself by causing a fuss, and doing something entirely unexpected and shocking, and then confronting the powers that be and saying, but my God is greater than your God. He obviously had a lot of self-confidence or belief in his own God. And I suppose the druid and the king, so they thought, well, he's not a bit afraid. Maybe we should talk to this guy. He confronted us. But there's a lot of things that we can infer from that, because we know that it had the country had a very structured social life, in that they all understood exactly what was happening. And of course, it also suggests that this festival of fire, or the extinguishing of the old and the lighting of the new, was very well established and very, very ancient. It wasn't something that was just invented on the whim of some present king. It goes way, 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 way back, and greatly revered. Then, having lit the new fire Well, everybody had a great time. It was sort of like, okay, it's party time. There was all kinds of licenses granted to that. Now, one of the things that complicates it, at least I believe, and I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong, but they won't correct me if I'm wrong. Only Cork people. Things got moved around a bit by the Christians, because while they couldn't extinguish this or outlaw it, although they tried, and Patrick himself cursed all the people who believed in or who honoured Baal. And Baal, B-A-L, the old sun god, was demonized and still is in so many ways. And because it was pre-Christian, and so they did all kinds of things to discredit it. Of course, the priests didn't like the licentiousness of it, because you could actually break your marriage vows for a night. Everybody was released. Oh, isn't that a good idea? Yeah. So there was no questions asked. You just you just had the night off, so to speak.
The earth was ready for seeds.
Exactly.
Ready for seeds.
Exactly. It was everybody. Yeah, it was seed time.
It was temporary there.
Oh, it's very temporary. Yes.
Well, no, the temporary marriages lasted a year.
Yeah, a lot of them started and ended. Yeah.
Usually ended around that time.
That's right. So so that if they were going to make a change, that was the night to do it. You may not go home with the person that you came with.
You go back to an old flame.
Oh, that's where that comes from.
That's where the fire comes from.
Well, interesting. Oh, now that's very interesting. I like it too.
Source of energy.
There we are. Now we just discovered something here. That's what you mean, the old flame, last year's flame. I like that. But anyway, you can see why the new Christianity didn't like the old pagan free for all. Let's.
Why did they walk the cows through the fires?
Well, I don't know really.
But they did, right?
Oh yeah, they did. Well, it was fertility, so everything that produced, cattle was all about fertility. You know, they measured the goodness of a king was how fertile and how much milk the cows had. So I'm sure that it had to do with fertility.
I didn't hear the question.
Why did they run the cattle through the two fires? By the way, they didn't run them actually through between the fires. Tinne. And I remember hearing that expression.
Maybe it killed the parasites on them or something.
Idrondá Tinne.
Between two fires.
Yes.
You know,
A rock and
Patrick,
a hard place.
It became known as that too, that you were Idrondá Tinne, that you were between two fires. But what it really came from was you drove the cattle Idrondá Tinne, between the two fires. So there was a lot of things, a lot of mixed up things. I mean, some people exploiting it just purely to have a good night out, and to get a crack at that young one from across the hill or whatever, you know. And you know, everybody had their own particular task to perform that night. But the older, more serious ones probably really did believe that it would be probably a good idea to drive the cattle through the two tinnas.
Heat them up.
I suppose, yeah. But there was a tremendous amount of things grew up associated with it, you know, purification. Fire obviously has to do with purification.
so Patrick, we have this fire temple in Iran. We celebrate this in Mission Bay.
Yeah.
Every year we did our cardio. And what we do, we jump over the fire.
Yeah.
It's a ritual. We are
Yeah.
Zoroastrian, we are fire worshipper.
Yeah.
What we do by landing before the fire, before we chant this prayer we have. then by jumping over the fire, we are asking that flame and heat, kill
Yeah.
the evil and badness in
Yes.
us and purify us
Yes.
and give us the blessing. So by maybe they ran the candle over the fire because to get the evil, to get the
Yes.
diseases, to get
That is
the
correct.
badness out of the being.
Absolutely.
That's
big,
what we do every
correct.
day.
Because a lot of sicknesses and diseases were considered to be demons, you know,
Yeah,
evil
darkness,
spirits.
We
Yeah.
call them Ahriman, actually, is the name for it.
Right.
Ahriman.
So
It's
fire.
still there today when they talk about a seizure and epilepsy, they believe that the person was seized by the devil.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
But
So-
you know, last year, I saw people throwing mattresses and all manner of things on the bonfire.
Oh, yeah.
Or things
Absolutely.
in Cork. Yeah,
It's
they
a-
throw anything, and I think somebody threw a gallon of, a canister of gas or something like that and exploded.
Oh yeah. Some clowns.
You know, but they, all their old rubbish, that's where you get rid of it today.
Oh yeah. It was a huge thing. They're big into bonfires in Ireland still. You want to
The
say something?
the two fires are the old Druid fire and the Christian fire?